If you want to manifest your specific person right now, all you need to do is look away. Well, I mean, not from this video, but I mean, you could, but from your external reality. Because what if I were to tell you that it's only the focus that you actually have on your external or 3D reality that's limiting it from showing up in the best way possible? And all of my logical minded people out there are absolutely going to love this definition. So bear with me. So if you think of a quantum state in which Joe Dispenza or Neville Goddard would say is happening outside of your awareness, you would say everything that you are not aware of exists in this quantum state, meaning it can be absolutely everything. In this state, without our awareness, things can be anything that we want, but will only collapse to something very specific when we place our thoughts or our attention or assumptions on it. So this same exact thing is happening in your external reality, but it's limited because we are focusing on our 3D and only looking at or expecting what we feel should be the best path instead of allowing our reality to give it to us in the most perfect way. For example, let's say right now that you are wanting communication from your specific person, and you think that that would begin with a text message. If that's the case, and we think the only goal to them being in communication with us is a text message, and we refuse to accept anything else because we know for sure that's the path, you are eliminating every single other possible pathway in which your specific person can show up to you right here and right now. And it's all because we are focusing on our external reality. Think of everything outside of your awareness as basically non in existence and only showing up in the way that we assume once we encounter it. Basically then, if we can't stop looking at the 3D, it can't actually change. It's kind of like, which I haven't watched this show, but if you watch Doctor Who, it's like the weeping angels in there. In that show, which again, I don't know so much about, but there's an entity that quantum locks when you view it. So basically what would look like an angel, every time you look at it, it can't move, it's quantum locked. And every time you look away is the only time that this angel or this entity can move towards you. Now, in that essence, it is a horror movie, but your reality works in the same way, and it's actually based on a quantum experiment called Schrodinger's cat. So in this experiment, which I think I've talked about before, again, this is why I said the logical-minded individuals will absolutely love this video. In the Schrodinger's cat thought experiment, you take a cat and you put it in a box. And to make it very simple, without looking into that box, the cat is either in there, not there, alive, and dead at the same time. It is in a quantum state. And every single particle that you experience ever, the one that are making up this video, your phone, your TV, yourself, your environment, your coffee mug, everything around you is made up of atoms, which all exist of electrons, which all exist in quantum states when unobserved. So when you are not looking at your reality, it can show up however you want or in a way that is greater than what you're expecting. And that's why then when we focus on our specific person only being able to text us in a certain way or call us in a certain way or say certain things to us, or when we're only looking for, let's say in the past we had a less than positive experience with our specific person and we want them to apologize. If that's the case, we're kind of pushing away the proposal because all we're focusing on is the apology. And so we need to take a step back from our 3D and focus or take a page out of Neville Goddard's book, which we all have read already, and understand we don't need to focus on the how. The more we focus on the how, or the 3D if you will, the more we quantum lock it. It can't show up in any other way. Basically then our assumptions have to totally be fulfilled, and you can almost think of it as when things are in your awareness, they're kind of in a state. That's why sometimes you've even probably heard, and maybe even felt yourself, that it sometimes feels easier to manifest your specific person when you're in no contact, or when they're not within your awareness. And you would say, well, why is that? And that's because, again, everything is in a quantum state outside of our awareness. And so we just have a couple questions that we can ask ourselves in order to ask Or C, are we allowing our reality to bring us our manifestation in the easiest possible way? Are we allowing it to bring it to us in the quickest, fastest, most abundant way possible? Because what you think of as the quickest path is extremely slow to what your subconscious and your reality can actually give you. It's kind of like the idea that we're limited based on our abundant thinking, meaning you think if A plus B equals C, then C equals D. Basically, our logic is limited on this must happen for it to occur, but your higher self, your God state, does not see that at all. They do not see that this must happen in order for that to occur. It sees that your specific person can propose to you today as long as we just allowed it, right? And so we need to allow it by taking our attention off of the 3D. So ask yourself, am I focusing too much on my 3D reality? Am I focusing too much on what is physically happening? Am I trusting in my subconscious mind at the moment? And do I believe that there's a path so much greater than what I'm expecting in the current moment? Because remember, you could always have it occur sooner. It could always happen in a more abundant way. It could always happen faster, right? There is always a quicker bridge that could take us to what we want infinitely faster. But the fact that it's so infinite and so and that we're kind of exposed to certain beliefs that stop that, that's what causes the incongruence with this idea that we can manifest now, but we also think that we know the quickest path, which usually isn't actually the quickest path. And the way I actually like to think of it is when I'm not looking at my reality, when I'm trusting, when I'm following what feels right, when my imagined state is of the end and I allow everything to work out its course automatically, I kind of think of my reality again in a quantum state. So kind of like fuzzy, right? When it's fuzzy and not permanent, it can show up in any way possible. My specific person can text me now, right? In that state, there's no limitations of what it can show up as, and so that's how it has to, or it can show up in the best way possible. Kind of like assumptions. If you're assuming your specific person needing or has to show up in a specific way, so let's say in the past they did something less than positive, and we're assuming they're still this less than positive person, they can't actually show up in any other way but that less than positive thought process and that less than positive character, if you will. Because if they tried to or attempted to, your reality wouldn't allow it because your subconscious mind is assuming this is the only possibility. And so how else could it bring it to you? Remember, and I've said this, I think in almost every video, so hopefully this isn't getting too much or I don't say it too often, but Neville Goddard mentions the bridge of events happening in a logical way. So when we take our mind off of logic, it can happen any way possible. So when I think of my reality as being like fuzzy, it can show up in any way possible. But if I imagine it like a map where there is a strict line taking me to the outcome, then there's no leeway. There's no ability for it to change. And I would say everyone who might feel stuck in their manifestation is thinking of it like a map with a strict line that is unchanging and unmoving. But your reality is not that way. It's in a quantum state, permanently reflecting who you think you are in any given moment. And so we need to ask ourselves again, are we trusting in our subconscious mind? Are we allowing our reality to bring us what we want in the best way possible? Or do we think we're somehow more abundant than our higher self or our God state or our subconscious? And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, when you trust in this, wild and crazy things happen immediately because nothing is actually stopping them from happening right now. The more our logical mind starts to bring its own thoughts in and think, nope, it has to occur in this way or that way, that's what restricts it. So open your mind to the subconscious, take your mind off of the 3D, allow it to come in a way that is the best and most positive way possible, and you'll realize it comes so much sooner than you could ever imagine. If you did have any questions on this, make sure to comment them down below. Remember, you can also reach out to me on my website at kyleaugustcoaching.com. And if you are trusting in your subconscious mind, make sure to comment that down below. Write down something along the lines of, I trust my subconscious to bring me my manifestation in the best and easiest way possible. Or even add the term of the quickest way possible as well to make it even faster. But focus more on your state and your end rather than the physical environment. Now, again, if you want a text or a call or something, that's okay. Again, remember, every desire is just as doable as any other one. But remember, if you're trying to get from point A to point B in the quickest way possible, we have to allow it to show up in a quantum state to then pick the quickest possible path. But as always, thank you for everyone who likes this video. Thank you to all my subscribers. Huge shout out to all my members. And I can't wait to see you in my next video tomorrow.